What up guys, welcome back to the channel. I have some big announcement. Before I get there, I want to talk about some summertime patterns that will definitely work right now. Before I get into the big announcements, I want to be talking about the baits to throw these upcoming weeks, whether you're in Southern California or Northern California. Now these baits are probably gonna work around, your southern states, Louisiana, Texas, and etc. I would think so, but I am gonna be talking about more towards the California region because I fish majority Western regional lakes, but I do plan on making my way out to Kentucky, Louisiana, Texas at some point this year or next year. Number one bait that I need to break out for June is a fluke. Specifically, a Zoom bait super fluke or Zoom bait salty super fluke. I think the size is perfect for whatever bait fish that you have in there, whether if it's bluegill or shad. And let's say if you're targeting bluegill, you can go with a bluegill pattern, color pattern, or if you're gonna go with, let's say, if you have shad at your lake, you could go with a shad pattern. Some notable colors that I like to use that I have confidence in. If you're in your southern states like Louisiana, Cattle Lake, I would like to use black. If there's only like 2 inches visibility, 3 inches visibility, I'll go super black. And I've caught big fish over at Louisiana doing so, but there is a translucent color like that I like throwing. I would definitely pick the smoking shad if you have shad inside your lake. If you have bluegill, I would lean more towards the natural colors like green pumpkin, or let's see what else that they have in here. Maybe bass, which is sort of like a watermelon. You could do the golden brim, watermelon seed. Yeah, so you can do watermelon seed, golden brim if you have bluegill inside your waters, but I recommend the smoking shad. That's my go-to color and it works at several Southern California lakes. What I like to do is I like to pair it up with like a medium heavy or medium action rod with a fast tip. So I could really just walk it subsurface and possibly keep it up in the water column. I could throw it on a 3/0 or 4/0 EWG. Keep it weedless, especially if you have your grass beds still coming up, because right now, some of the lakes that I fish at, currently the grass is growing up to the surface and it's sooner or later, it's gonna be grass beds. So definitely like to have this weedless with the EWG. Kind of gets that bait a little bit more subsurface too, if the fish are not committing to the top water completely. Now, my other option, if these bass are not reacting to, let's say, top water, or actually before we get into the finesse baits, let's go with a few other reaction baits that I like to throw during this time. A lot of people are throwing deep divers, but first thing in the morning, in the first like 2 to 3 hours, it's gonna be low light conditions. What I like to throw during this time, I know a lot of people, this may be controversial, but I like to throw square bills that run anywhere from 6 to 10 feet of water. For me, the 6th Sense Cloud 9 square bill works. If you're looking for that 1 or 2 bites, that solid bites that you want to fill out your limit, this bait definitely works. I like the shad pattern, but I've caught them on, I caught them on the boiled crawfish during this time, believe it or not. So maybe you want to mix it up during the low light conditions. If you want them angry, if they're pretty angry and you want to get them pissed off even more, go with like a bright color, like a crawfish, boiled crawfish, or lime green, what is it, like the table rock pattern or the chartreuse spink, that's what they call it. You can do that, but if you want to lean more towards natural colors, you can choose the ghost shad scales. That one's a cool looking color, or like an American shad, or threadfin shad. They have this pattern called the ghost threadfin shad. That looks pretty legit to me. And then, if you want to go deeper, you can choose your deep divers like the 6XD, 10XD. They definitely do have a tighter wobble, so that way, you can get down there. The guys over at Lake Fork are killing it on deep divers right now. 6XD is by far made a name for itself. I personally not into deep diving crankbaits, but I'm definitely going to be working on that this summer. Always going to have it tied on. Just don't have any in my arsenal right now. But square bill first thing in the morning, definitely, I'm not gonna go without a square bill. So we talked about the fluke, we talked about the square bill. Now let's talk about a little bit about the topwater. Last year over at in San Diego, few lakes, they've been loving the Mega Bass. The Mega Bass Pop Max. The Mega Bass Pop Max. The good thing about that is you could, throw it on your cool little BFS reel setups. Throw it on like 10-pound tests. You can throw it either on like a 10 or 12-pound mono, or you can throw it. My favorite way to throw it is to throw it on, like 25-pound braid, 30-pound braid. Just zing it out there. You can really work it fast, and you can get a really good hook set, especially when you throw it on braid. But on those overcast days, when you can get them in California, you can really catch them. You can really catch them. I'm talking about a numbers game. And this time of year, you probably want to throw this Mega Bass Pop Max around riprap, hardcover, some shad, vertical pilings, anywhere shad can spawn. We talked about it in the previous video, but I didn't even talk about Pop Max, and this is a great bait that replicates the shad, especially the 2.5 to 3.5 inch shad around California. This is a great bait throw. So this is my third recommendation for reaction bait. So what have we gone? We have gone with the Fluke Zoom Super Salty. It could be the Zoom Salty Super Fluke. And then we went over the Square Bill and the 6XD. I'll just put the crankbaits in one little bundle, but for me, I like Square Bill first thing in the morning. For other people, they like the 6XD throughout the whole entire day on deeper structure, like I'd say 15 to 20 feet. 10-pound test, 12-pound test, and etc. Maybe medium heavy rod, crankbait rod. Probably like I imagine they'll be throwing it on like a 7'3", 7'4" to 7'6" medium heavy, either hybrid glass and graphite rod or simply just glass, medium heavy with a high speed reel. Probably like 8.2 to 1 or 7.5 to 1. Anyways, we went through those two. So we got the Zoom Salty Fluke. We have the Square Bill crankbait and the deep diver. Then we had the Mega Bass walking bait / popper bait by Mega Bass called the Pop Max. Let's get into our finesse baits now. Last year, fished a lake called Lake Paris. It's a man-made reservoir with a lot of standing timber. The key way I caught my baits in such a short amount of time is to fish a shaky head near timber, standing timber. And I don't recommend it all the time to everybody. I probably recommend a Texas rig, but for some reason they were just whacking this shaky head. What I was throwing was an 1/8 ounce to 3/16 of an ounce in standing timber with a 4.5 inch fat head roboworm in margarita, multilator, or MM3. And I was just whacking them. There was something about it when the wind picked up in the afternoon, bite got a little bit tough. Something about that fall. They really like that bait on the fall. And I think the better part of the reason of why I caught bass and I was successful catching on a shaky head is it looks like a minnow, like the size of a minnow. So you don't see night crawlers and worms all the time in lakes. I don't think there's a high presence or high population of worms just floating out of nowhere. So I think it's really the profile of the bait that really stands out and the way it falls. It's like a shad. Yeah, shaky head works all summer long. If you're trying to buy a bite, maybe buy even like 3, 4, 5 fish. I caught 3 fish. I believe I caught, 3 fish in half an hour on the same tree, back to back casts. So when you're on a school of them, when you're on a school of these bass and you're throwing that shaky head, either 1/8 ounce all the way up to your 1/4 ounce, they kill it. And there's so many times that I'll cast it out in open water as I pass by on my 2D. If I pass by a school and I just cast down with a shaky head, it's not my first option in terms of bait to throw on a school, but you can definitely get them fired up on a shaky head, especially if you want to clean them out. So let's say if you're on this flutter spoon bite, toss that flutter spoon, you catch like 5 or 10 of them, but you still need to upgrade. You probably can take that 1/4 ounce shaky head with a rubble worm. And you can upgrade to the 7-inch worm and the 6-inch worm, but for me, like that 4-inch, 4.5 inch to 6-inch for me, that worm just simply works. Everything will eat it. 19-inch bass, 20-inch bass will definitely eat a shaky head worm that's only 4.5 inches long. Another worm that I really like is the Net Baits T-Mac worm. It's a 7-inch bait in green pumpkin. Tactical bass likes that June bug, but I like that green pumpkin. But that worm, there's something about it, but big fish eat it, that T-Mac worm. Let's move on. The last bait, well, let's talk about a second way to present that robo worm. So we talked about that fathead robo worm. Let's talking about the original robo worm, drop shot worm. And the thing about the original one is I like how skinny it is, and I like the action of that bait, especially during summertime. What I like to do is drop shot with it. So when absolutely nothing is working out and it's slick, calm conditions, bluebird skies, the moon is fully out, and you just can't catch them on either your chatterbait, your square bill, your topwater, your subsurface baits, you wanna throw a drop shot, especially around vertical cover like grass beds, pilings, docks, and rock piles. I think the last tournament Pickwick? I think the day one leader of 1, 2, and 3 was throwing a drop shot throughout the whole entire tournament and was winning. So don't leave the house without your drop shot rod. Just because if you're a tournament fisherman, don't leave without it, because you just never know when you need that fish. You need that kicker. I mean, a lot of people think the fairy wand won't catch big fish, but I kid you not. Two of the last 3 tournaments that I fished recently caught my biggest fish on a drop shot. The other one, just because I was on schooling fish, I caught it on a Kitech, my biggest fish, but that's besides the point. Last bait that can't leave home without is probably the 6-inch or 5-inch Senko. It is a signature bait. And when I say you can't leave without it, you can't leave without it. That bait right now or any time of the year is a classic bait that will never stop working. You can either Texas rig, which I would do because there's a lot of grass at this time. You can fish it on your 10-pound test, 12-pound test, 15-pound test. If you're in the Northern California lakes, I would fish it anywhere from 15, 20-pound test, especially if you're at Clear Lake or the Delta. I would definitely up the line size over there. But if you're in SoCal and you're fishing in bowls of water, you can go down to 8-pound test, but my comfortable spot is probably 10 to 12. But you can fish it wacky style or weedless on an EWG hook, either 3/0 or 4/0. Those super line hooks work well for me. But anyways, let's go to the big announcements. So the big announcements are, I signed up for the KBF Trail, the KBF Pro Series, and that's huge. If I finish, I have, in order to get in the 10 house for the KBF, I'll have a good chance if I get a second or third place, or even a top 5 for the next trail tournament. So there's gonna be 2 trail tournaments at the same lake this coming up month. I believe it's the 25th and the 26th. I could be wrong, it could be the 24th and the 25th. It's gonna be held over at Lower Otay in San Diego. And if I finish in the top 5 for those 2 tournaments, I basically have an excellent chance at getting into the 10 house if I fish Kentucky Lake and have a top 10 over at the National Championship or the Challenge, not the Trail Challenge Championship over at Kentucky Lake. So that's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna put in a lot of work for this tournament. I'll probably start from 6 a.m. and finish all the way till 4 p.m. lines out for practice. I'll use up all the time. I plan on not sticking too many fish up shallow, but it's gonna be a weird one. So the blackout period starts out this Thursday, I believe, which is, blackout period starts out this month, the 9th, which is this Thursday, but the lake closes this Wednesday, every second Wednesday of the month. What we're gonna do is just take advantage of the full practice day I definitely would like to have at least 2 practice days, but 1 will do. And the mapping that I have is not very accurate for this lake. So what I'm gonna have to do is rely on my live sonar, of course, and just visual cover. We'll see how I do. I think I always have a chance based on my style of fishing. I could fish shallow, I could fish deep. You just never know, you know? Another announcement, I am leading the American Bass Ironman Kayak Series Angler of the Year points. I am leading by a good chunk of points with my 2nd place finish, 1st place finish, and 7th place finish. If I finish anywhere in the top 5 for this next tournament, it's gonna jump me up even higher. I basically could take a break off of kayak fishing for the American Bass if I wanted to, and save some money until the championship happens, the TOC. If I finish high in the TOC, that means I win a Hobie PA 12 or 14. It could be the 14 180 drive, brand new 2022, which is awesome. I'm glad that American Bass decided to do that, plus a cash prize. The next announcement is that I will be delivering more content, more tournament content for you guys. Thanks for being patient. This past month has been slow because there hasn't been many tournaments going on, and I have been picking up work on the side. I am a videographer, and that's my part-time deal, full-time deal, and that's how I make money. But yeah, you will be getting more content, more tournament content. The next tournament I have will be at Lake Paris with the Urban Angler Club. Great club. Finished 1st place at the last tournament over at Castaic. That was an awesome time, and I will be there over at Lake Paris. Lake Paris is probably one of my favorite lakes to fish at during the summertime, even though you got all those wakeboarders and etc. Generally, there's some protected water that you could stay away from all those wakeboarders and jet skis and etc. So be on the lookout for that tournament, and thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for visiting this channel, and I know there's, for those new subscribers that have recently subscribed, be prepared for some super sick content, because it's gonna happen. And I'm looking for another win this season. I am so grateful for all the high finishes that I've gotten, and I'm just ready to be back. Slightly lows right now because I haven't been busy with fishing, but I know it's gonna get crazy for the next 3 months, and I'm prepared for it. But yeah, thanks again for checking out the channel. I'll see you guys later. Peace.